Over the last couple of days, we've had some pretty decently sized Regulation F tours, and today I want to talk about them. Also, before we get started, I just want to apologize for my voice. I had my Christmas breakup party today, and it's kind of shot. But look, anyway, jumping into it here, we'll start off here with the Timmy Burns Glizzy Tour. Now, I believe this tournament had roughly around 160-ish players. I think it was a bit more, but then a bunch of it ended up dropping. Okay, 162, sorry, with a bunch of drops, yeah. But yeah, 162 players, but we had some really interesting results. And the first one here is, Marco Fiera, a fantastic Italian player, one of the best in the world, honestly. Has a, fantastic result. You see winning, going 12-0. Playing with Insane, Rillaboom, and Landorus-I, which I did think was really interesting. So obviously he's got the core that I think a lot of people are kind of looking at right now as one of the best cores in the game, which is going to be the Rilla, Insane plus Urshifu, right? Your Fire Water Grass core gives you double Fake Out, gives you Intimidate, gives you Grassy Surge, and just, a really powerful, physical attacker in Urshifu Rapid Strike, arguably the best physical attacker we have in the game right now. As a matter of fact, I think it's really arguable. I don't think there's much better than it in terms of what it can do. Obviously, a Flutter Mane here. We do see the Terra Stella coming out too, which I do think is very interesting. Obviously, it's fantastic. I'm assuming this is speed boost, special attack booster. And yeah, I think really the Terra Stella just gives you that option to just basically fire up a really powerful Shadow Ball, which is very important too, because I think a lot of the time, these bulkier Flutter Manes, nowadays in particular, are trying to live these, Shadow Balls from opposing Flutter Manes without Terras. So having that, that Stellar Terra boost there on turn 1, can obviously, allow you to pick up a KO on a different or on the opposing Flutter Mane that you normally wouldn't get, right? But then the interesting one here is the Landorus-I plus Torn, right? So Tornadoes obviously, it's pretty standard, right? It's arguably the best speed control in the game. And I think a lot of people would argue it is better than Whimsicott for what it does in particular, which is it gets up Tailwind, gets up the rain, and then just fires up Liquid Storms, right? But then you see the Landorus-I paired with it. And normally when you see, Landorus-I in particular, you would obviously sit there and think, okay, this is going to be firing off Sandsear Storms right in the rain. And he's actually not, which I did think was really interesting. Poison Life Orb is, I think, just the standard set with Sheer Force. Basically getting Stab Sludge Bomb, I think, is really good. Against, Sludge Bomb is boosted up by Sheer Force, which is fantastic. Earth Power obviously being, your main stab at single target, doesn't miss, also really good. But he's also opted for the substitute here over, going for, obviously, the Sandsear Storm here, which I do think is, pretty standard. But I do think, Landorus-I has a fantastic matchup into Raging Bolt right now, which I do think is really good. And in particular, when you look at the, Marco's team, a lot of these mons don't really want to deal with Raging Bolt, right? Obviously Urshifu is just going to get one shot by it. Tornadus is, going to get one shot if it doesn't Terra. And then Flutter Mane and, Insane, they're kind of mons where if they get chipped down a little bit, all of a sudden, they're in Thunderclap range. And Rillaboom, while it takes it on pretty well, a lot of the time these days, they're going to be running, U-turn as their fourth move over, high horsepower, for example, just because obviously with Insane back, you kind of want to cycle, right? You want to be able to go parting shot into your, your Rillaboom, you fake out as you switch in your Insane to the other slot, then you fake out U-turn, just, it really allows you just to kind of pivot around and just get really good positioning, right? So because of that, they're not running the high horsepower anymore. And because of that, you really don't have that many ways to, essentially hit the Raging Bolt, right? You can't really hit it with Urshi. Like, sure, you can CC, but the second you CC, the mon's done. Rillaboom does 0 damage to it. Insane, the best it's going to do is fake out and knock it off. Flutter Mane can deal a lot of damage to it, but again, if Flutter Mane ever gets chipped down, it's just going to get one shot by it. So that's where Landorus-I comes in. I think is really good in the current metagame. Gives you just a fantastic matchup into, the Raging Bolt, which I do think is really good. But surprisingly enough as well, I don't actually think we saw too many, good results in this tour from it, right? So we'll jump back in here. Let's have a look real quick. Do we see any Raging Bolts? Is that our first? No, that's an Archaludon. Where is our first Raging Bolt? There, our first Raging Bolt is coming in at 13th, and I believe there's 2 of them in the top 16. And neither of which made the top 8, which I do think is very interesting. But anyway, moving on to the second team here by Deuce. This is another really cool tech that we'll start seeing pick up, right? So again, we actually see Landorus-I again. I believe there was actually 4 Landorus-I's in the top 8. And there was even more obviously going into the top 16. But the other really cool thing as well was the Latias here. Now, Latias is really cool for a couple of reasons. Like one, obviously this is a very defensive mon, right? In terms of, its HP stats, honestly pretty average. Defense stats, decent, but it's, special box fantastic. But what this mon does with that Psychic Dragon timing is it hardwalls Urshifu, right? You're able to resist both the surging strikes and the close combat. Obviously, it's not as easy going into the, the regular, the Urshifu single strike. But rapid strike, you're really good into it, right? Again, it gives you Tailwind. Mist Ball is fantastic as well. If you ever like hit a Flutter Mane with this thing or catch it on a switch in, you're going to do a lot of damage. Because, for those who, I guess, don't know, Mist Ball has a 50% chance to drop the special attack stat by one stage, which again, when you're catching things like Flutter Mane, Golden Goes and whatnot, that can be very valuable, right? Because lowering their, damage output can really help the rest of the team thrive. We did touch on it before. We see, again, Urshi in Cinderella. Expect to see this everywhere. I think this is going to be the best core, without a doubt, heading into, Regulation F. It's just too good, right? You have these two, good defensive pieces that both like fake out and pivoting, and this one guy here who kind of likes to just sit on the board and just attack. But again, we see Landorus-I coming in, and look very similar to what we said before, right? It's the exact same set. He's gone for the substitute in the last slot. Very, very cool. But I guess the final, one we're looking at here for this team at least is Registeel, which is very, very interesting. Obviously, we see Leftovers, Clear Amulet, Terra Water, I think all very, very good. I am kind of interested in the Terra Water, though. I guess it is just in general a good defensive typing. I would have liked to have seen something like Terra Fairy, though. I guess potentially even Terra Grass, but I'm sure there's a reason for Terra Water, right? Just overall best, probably just the best defensive type, defensive Terra for it. And then in terms of the moves, Heavy Slam, Body Press, Iron Defense, fantastic. Obviously, you're talking about a mon with an insanely high defensive stat. So basically, just getting up that Iron Defense and then starting to click those Body Presses can be very, very good. And it's coming, it's a very heavy mon. Heavy Slam's going to do a lot of damage. I'm sure it would pick up one shots on Flutter Mane. I haven't actually calced for it because Registeel is not a mon I've personally thought about testing. But regardless, it got second place, a pretty decently sized tour. So yeah, that is very, very cool. We're not going to look at like every team. We see Conkeldonk here, of course, running his, not really his 2-2-2 Dozo anymore, but he's got the Power Knight, he's got the Dozo Tatsugiri, and then Glamora Incin. I think Glamora obviously is fantastic in the early metagame. Dondozo is one of those ones where people aren't prepping for it. It does a lot of work. And Incin obviously just kind of like helps it out, right? It would allow the Glamora to basically get off more of its toxic. And then also having slow parting shot into your Dondozo, I think is fantastic, right? It basically allows you to not have to hard switch into Dozo, which is like really, really good. Well, I guess we'll have a quick look at his sets here, see if he's doing anything crazy. Nah, just Water Citrus, standard set. It was what we expected. AV Glamora, it kind of just wants to click Mortal Spin, and then yeah, the rest of the team, we all know what that does, yeah, at this point. Fourth place, though, we see Entei coming in, which I do think is really, really good. Entei is a fantastic choice paired up with Chen Pao. I think the Assault Vest set is really, really nice as well. You also see the Terra Grass here too, which I do think is fantastic. Obviously, helps out with Amoonguses. It also helps out a lot with, obviously, just ground typing in general. I do think it is pretty damn nice. Like, grass typing, I think, is obviously on the rise, especially with things like Urshifu being really good. And then, of course, Raging Bolt, definitely on the rise too. I do think a lot of people right now are over preparing for Raging Bolt. Obviously, I think coming into the format, a lot of people are looking at that as probably the best Pokemon introduced in Regulation F. Because of that, you are seeing a lot of people, prepare for it, right? You've obviously got the Amoonguss here with Redirection, which is great into, Thunderclap. D-Knight also does a pretty decent job of taking it on. And then obviously, Entei here can do quite a lot of damage, especially, with Assault Vest. It'll take very minimal from it. It can fire off things like Stomping Tantrum. But yeah, this was a really, really cool team as well, I thought. Just seeing like, Urshi Power Knight, Urshi Power Knight paired up with Entei is sick. Especially because Sacred Fire, it's a really busted signature move. I think it's like, what is it, like 100 base power with a 50% chance to burn? Honestly, like really, really silly. Very, very powerful move here. We see Lena here rocking, I'd just say, a pretty strong Tailwind team, really. Regidrago, I think, is always going to have a place in the metagame. It's very, very interesting, especially with a lot of defensive pieces. And again, we do see here, though, there is no, Rillaboom here. But when you're not running Rillaboom, there's another grass type you're running. Its name is Amoonguss. But yeah, just honestly a pretty standard, Tailwind team here. I don't really think there's that much to say. Specs Golden Go with Terra Steel is awesome. Focus Sash Tornadus I do think is actually really, really interesting, especially when they do have the Rocky Helmet available. But I'm assuming this is probably just max speed, right? And they just want to be able to live things like, a Banded D-Knight, E-Speed and whatnot. Also Terra Flying too, I didn't kind of mention that there. Another here, defensive piece here that I'll take a look at too with this team, which is really, really cool, is the Electabuzz. For basically anyone who doesn't know, I'll probably actually make a video on it in the coming days. Electabuzz and Magmar both actually just got Follow Me back, which is really cool because obviously they're both Violet Mons. But the other thing too that I really like is their abilities. Electabuzz has Static and, Magmar has Flame Body, which I do think is very, very good. Electabuzz here does, have things like Protect, Follow Me, which obviously is very standard, but then T-Bolt and Electro Web. T-Bolt is really good, obviously, for helping pick up things like Tornadus, and just in general, having a bulky piece that can click, Electro Web is obviously very, very nice. And we do see here, though, on this team, they've got the Incin, the Urshi, and then this time they've actually paired it with the Ogerpon as their water type, which again is pretty good, especially when you look at this team, right? It is pretty weak to obviously Intimidate. Urshifu kind of ignores it just because of Surging Strikes, but Incin and, obviously Roaring Moon don't really want to get, intimidated that much. So having Ogerpon there is very, very good. And I'm not going to lie, Ogerpon is actually, one of the scariest mons I've had to deal with on the early ladder. This one honestly feels like it 6-0s half of the teams I build, which is very scary, especially if you are playing it with Incin and it has things like, Stomping Tantrum plus SD. Basically, if you're going to run this, though, just make sure you've got ways to like potentially, redirect these, the Flare Blitzers, of course. And then Roaring Moon, great to see, getting some results. Absolutely love that monster. Seeing it get a top 8 placement is very, very nice. And then we do see it around at the top 8 here, back-to-back teams. Yeah, they're actually not the same as the earlier ones. But you see what I mean here. We have 4 Landorus-I's, I believe. Was it 4 or was it 5? Yeah, 4 Landorus-I's in the top 8, 3 Latias in the top 8. Obviously, these guys built the team together by the looks of it. A pretty very, actually a very nice defensive core here. I do think like King Gambit paired up with a lot of physical attackers is pretty good right now, especially because it's, with like Terra Fairy, you can kind of just ignore the instant. It's like, yeah, sure, you can take my assault burst, but at that point I'm +1, I'm firing off Terror Blast, Sucker Punches, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's pretty scary. We see an Ogre Pawn Water pop up here, a mon I've actually been testing a bit myself. I do think it's very, very interesting, especially with Landorus on the on the rise. Terra Water Follow Me basically just really good into that Landorus, right? Especially too because if you can predict and go for things like Sludge Bomb, Earth Power, basically you can play the mind games there. Also just the Terra Water Ivy Cudgel will pick it up if they don't Terra too. Specs Floodmane with Icy Wind I do think is also really nice, especially with things like Landorus, picking up in usage. Obviously Incin. I don't know if I touched on Terra Dragon. There's been a couple Terra Dragons floating around. I do think Dragon's obviously a pretty decent typing. My biggest worry is Floodmane. Like Choice Specs Floodmane's already pretty good into this mod because it's like you're pretty free just to fire off a Moonblast into it, and if they ever have to Terra in front of you, they're just dead. But yeah, Landorus-I doing the exact same thing before. Sub as the 4th move I think is very nice. And then the Latias here, just, this one's got Tailwind plus Recovery, which they all had, Mistball as well. But this time they've opted for Draco over Ice Beam. I did like Ice Beam on the other Lati just because obviously it helps you out into Landorus-I. It really allows you to put pressure on it with the defensive mon. I'm assuming you probably don't need much, if, any special attack investment at all just to pick up the KOs. But yeah, regardless, still a really, really cool team there. I do like seeing Latias pick up. Definitely a mod I need to actually throw in, in the builder, because I do think it is very, very cool. Another Landorus-I team here with our first Archaludon. Interesting thing here was there was no I guess no manual, no like weather setting abilities. I've seen a lot of Pelipper picking up, especially in like these hybrid, rain rooms with Archaludon. But obviously Tornadus' job here is basically to set up Tailwind and the Rain Dance for, Archaludon, which I do think is pretty good because it has an 85 speeds here, which is very, very solid. But then obviously, you've got Urshian Rain, you've got a Mungus in Rain, both really good there. We do finally get to see a Sandsear Storm as well coming out of a Landorus in Rain, which is cool. But yeah, this is just a really sick rain team. I do think Incin is very, very nice on these rain teams, especially with Terra Grass. You see with the Iapoppa Berry here. But yeah, just a really, really nice core. It is nice to see, Archaludon finally picking up. Also too, I guess for people who I guess maybe haven't seen it yet, but stamina plus body press is kind of the way right now. Basically, you kind of eat some attacks and then you just fire off, some pretty strong body presses off. Like I think it's 130, I think, physical defensive stat, which is pretty nice. If you ever, even with like 0 investment, if you ever get like +1 to that, your body press is doing a lot of damage. But yeah, really cool rain team there. Do we have any other cool stuff we want to look at here? We basically looked at Joe's team before. I think actually, was it the exact same team? Joe's team with the POW. No, this one had Gambit. But yeah, basically similar to what we looked at before. Our first Whimsicott actually coming in at 11th, which does actually pain me just a little bit, as I'm a big fan of Whimsicott here. But again, we're seeing more Landorus-I. Honestly, this mod is on the rise crazy. We see Annihilate getting a good finish here too. Basically, beat up plus Ape, I do think is very, very solid right now. Obviously, AV Incin, I think this is our first AV. Obviously with the AV, they run the old U-turn instead. But yeah, honestly, outside of that, pretty standard. Redirection, Ogre Pawn Water, just supportive. I'm guessing this is special attack boosting Fluttermane. And then yeah, just the standard Ape really. Terra Steel actually is very interesting. I'm surprised they didn't opt for, going Terra Fire. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know, there's a lot of fire types running around right now, so that is actually kind of interesting to me. Ting Lu getting a top 16 placement actually. Hello, I did not see that before. Safety Goggles, Ruination, Stomach Tantrum, Heavy Slam. I mean, look, Ting Lu's just a good mon. I mean, obviously, actually, that like hard walls, what's it called, right? The Raging Bolt, which is actually kind of cool. I guess it also as well, it actually defends these pieces very nicely. As a matter of fact, actually, there's like no special attackers on this team. So I guess, yeah, Ting Lu's pretty nice for that reason right there, right? You're not really hindering any of your teammates. And you've got this, like, this Chanpao, D-Nut, Entei Core. Even with Ogreborn here as well, right? Ogreborn's your redirection mon, but obviously next to Chanpao can pump out a lot of damage. And more Shroom. A lot of Shroom, yeah. Any other cool stuff we want to look at here? More Latios here as well, actually. Let's see, is it the same set, Rocky Helmet set? Yeah, Rocky Helmet, but they've got Psyshock over Mistball this time, which is actually kind of interesting. Specs Fluttermane, Whimsicott. Honestly, the lack of Chi-Yu does pain me. But I guess, look, if I'm not playing in these events with Chi-Yu, who is, right? And then Tubbo the Hobbo. This is actually a guy I'm actually going to be playing a tournament with coming up soon, an Australian event. So it's cool actually to see what he's building here. We've got the Incin, Lando, Torn. Dude, why is everyone running Lando, Torn? Did I miss something at one of the other events? Like, I've had a very busy week with Christmas parties, so I don't know. Maybe there was like an event earlier where everyone was kind of popping off with Lando, Torn that I just missed. But we do see, Raging Bolt finally with the Magnet, which is definitely really cool. Rillaboom, still doing Rillaboom things. Dude, it actually pains me not seeing these guys run high horsepower, especially with Incin and like Bolt in the metagame. But I get why they run U-turn. Like, part of me wonders if I should just like drop Glide or Woodhammer on my sets, but I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit too crazy. But yeah, Mystic Water, Terra Water, yeah. Just honestly, for the most part, relatively standard. It's kind of what I expected. Is there any other cool stuff going on here? I guess we'll take a look at this team here. This is a team I've kind of been talking about a bit. Dude, more Lando Tornadoes. This is wild. But Iron Crown, dude, very, very good one, obviously. A lot of people right now, I believe, are running the, I think this is the special attack boosting set. You pair it up with the D&DD, and then you go like Calm Mind through attack. Essentially, like with, Steel and Psychic coverage, the only thing you can't really hit is, Steel types. And that's why they go for Terra Ground, Terra Blast. Also, it's just, again, nice to have it into things like Raging Bolt. It really does feel like everyone's very worried about this Raging Bolt one, which, I mean, look, they definitely should be. Seeing double redirection here is kind of cool as well. Specs Chaladon actually is very, very interesting. I mean, if you get some like specs, Stellar Terra 2, actually, I didn't even see that. I mean, that's actually pretty nice, I guess, if you can put your Tornadoes in the, if Tornadoes can put it in the right position to fire off attacks. Definitely very, very cool. Indeedee doing classic Indeedee things. Very cool mod. I actually think Indeedee's a bit underexplored right now. But obviously, in saying that, we're like 4 days into the format, so everything's underexplored. But dude, Landorus-I plus Tornadoes really, really picking up, which is crazy. Actually, don't know if I specifically said it, but Iron Crown is an expanding Force mon. So with special attack boost E-Force, it's like the best E-Force one we have in the game right now. So that paired up with like Follow Me or Helping Hand, depending on what the opponent leads, can be very devastating. The biggest thing I would say to everyone, obviously, is, just watch out for Incins. But I guess that's why we've got the Terra Blast here, right? So yeah, definitely a very, very cool team there. Is there any other stuff? I don't want to go too far down the list. We get a P2 team. Actually, we'll have a look at this team. This is a P2 plus Primarina. Something I have actually been looking at potentially running myself, actually. A very, very cool Trick Room team, really. You got, P2 here setting up your Trick Room for you. You got Primarina here just doing Primarina things, right? It's, a decently slow mon. Works very well under Trick Room. If you get up the, the Calm Mind, the Moon Blast plus Hyper Voices do a lot of damage. Terra Dragon as well is a fantastic defensive typing on it. Gambit also is another mon that if you get this under Trick Room, it's insane. Ruler and Incin really help you position, obviously getting up the Trick Room, and then of course Landorus-I, the source. Dude, it's actually crazy that we see so much Lando-I, and I don't think we've seen a single Lando-T. Is there like more Lando-I? Actually, let's take a look. Actually, is there anything cool in the top 32 before I move on? We see Ryan here rocking the Electabuzz. Love Ryan. Go check out his channel if you guys don't know. Sableye VGC. One of my favorite people to watch right now. Actually, as a matter of fact, Ryan is my favorite person to watch in VGC right now. But yeah, look, pretty cool team here. The standard core here with Flutter, Electabuzz, and Gambit. I actually have almost the exact same team on my builder, except I don't have Gambit. I have, I think, no, who do I have? I would show you the team. It's on my phone, unfortunately. Do we have anything else cool here? Iron Boulder, actually. I like Iron Boulder. Look at this team. I think this mod's really underexplored. I played this exact same set here. Yeah, really, really cool set. I really like Iron Boulder. This mod is like fantastic with speed control. Especially like with SD. If you ever get SD up, dude, Mighty Cleave is actually kind of broken. Not gonna lie, that move does a lot of damage. Flutter Mane, yeah, pretty standard. Specs Icy Wind, as I said earlier, I think is very, very good. Incin, Ogerpawn Water, yeah. I mean, look, it's what you expect at that point, right? It's just really cool to see the Iron Boulder there too. I really like that mon. And then finally, Raging Bolt in top. Dude, imagine getting top 32 and just straight dropping. That's savage. I guess it's our first Metagross I've seen. Life Orb, why are we going Fighting Terror for the Hammer? That's very interesting. I wonder if that defensively does something I'm missing. Oh, and there's our first Lando-T. Choice Scarf Lando-T. I've actually been playing a lot of Lando-T. I think this one's a bit underexplored right now. But yeah, I mean, we've got Volcarona with QD. Yeah, look, pretty cool team, honestly. I think this is like a... dude, this here, this should be Calm Mind on this team, I think. But I don't know, maybe that's too much set. Nah, it's not too much setup. It should be Calm Mind, Raging Bolt. Calm Mind, Raging Bolt just sweeps under Trick Room. I think you drop Protect on a set like this. Drop Protect, put Calm Mind there, just like go like, I don't know, like Trick Room and Calm Mind, or lead Rillaboom, and then you turn out into it. Yeah, P2 is a really, really cool Trick Room mon right now. I think something I definitely need to look at exploring myself. I think Volcarona is like always a decent mon if it can ever, just get up its QDs. Flamethrower is actually kind of interesting though, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, anyway, let's take a look at the usage stats here. I want to see, so 104 Incins, kind of expected that with a 51% win rate. 50% usage on the Flutter Mane still, of course. 40%. Is there any way for me just to go top cut? Let's have a look at top cut here. So if we go top cut, Incin on 78% of teams. You see its win percent though, only 52. Big bad Urshifu Rapid Strike. I think I kind of explain this, I guess. So the reason I think that Urshifu Rapid Strike gets even better, obviously, is Incin gets better. And the thing Incin struggles with the most is Rillaboom really being faster than it, because when you look at the common fake out mons right now, it really is just these two. And Rillaboom is just so much faster naturally that if Incin ever wants to outspeed it, it has to put way too much speed investment. Because a lot of Rillabooms anyway are hovering anywhere between that 112 to 116 minimum. There are crazy people who go even faster than that because they like to pick up kills with Woodhammer. But yeah, basically Incin has to go like way too much investment to catch Rillaboom. Because of that, Rillaboom will outspeed it, you'll fake it out, and then, Urshifu will just like basically clean it up from there, right? Surging Strike will basically kill it. And if it doesn't kill it, most of the time they're going for things like Terra Fairy anyway. So they're basically just in range next turn of dying. So yeah, I do think that is why Urshifu was like getting even better right now. Fluttermane is another mon also that is just like really good into Incin, because Incin really can't do anything to it. It can't kill it with Flare Blitz, and if it just fires off like a Specs Moonblast into you, or even a speed boost, a special attack boost like we've seen a couple of, it's gonna just deal that over 50%. So like any chip paired up with this is just like enough to really threaten it. Landorus-I getting 12, like basically Landorus-I being 5th is actually insane. I would also love to know exactly what Ogerpon that is. Unfortunately, I think it's just all of them combined. Gambit's still good. I mean, their win rates are pretty damn low. Chen Power is high. Dude, Latias is actually the source. That's going to be the thumbnail, I think. Latios is on the rise, man. This mod's like really, really good. Yeah, dude, Iron Crown getting a couple placements. Only 3 Whimsicots, dude, to the, I guess only 9 Tornaduses. I'm actually not that surprised that Tornadus has dropped off, because I do think, like, balance is just kind of going to be better, right? Again, like, this core of 4 right here is just the best core of 4 in the game. And it looks like Landorus-I actually might be the partner for them all, which is actually really, really cool. Because I don't know much about, like, the past formats in VGC, but I don't know if we've ever had a format where, like, Landorus-I has just been that much better than Landorus-T. But that could be really, really interesting if this one that's like seen like no play is like all of a sudden really, really good. But anyway, that'll be it for the Himi burns. Let's quickly have a look at the other tour I wanted to look at, just because it happened. That is not the one I want. I should have just done VGC. Here it is, the Tommy Tuesdays. This one was cool because of the team that won it. I believe this was a Japanese player that won using obviously Landorus-T, which is funny because we were just saying, hey, Landorus-T got 1 placement, it finished 32nd. It won this event, but it has the Magma here with the Violite and Flame Body, which is definitely very, very cool. But they also, have got the Tailwind setter of Suicune. It is really interesting for me to see early format that people are opting for things like Latios and Suicune as their Tailwind setters. Even Roaring Moons as well. I think we saw 1 or 2 Roaring Moons be the Tailwind setters in the other tour. So yeah, that is really, really cool. I do really like Suicune. Roar is also really good for like anti-Trick Room as well, right? If you know they're just going to go for the Trick Room, just roar them out. Snarl also is like really, really good with Terra Dark as a way to kind of mitigate obviously, some of those like side spam teams, which are kind of popular right now, especially on ladder. And then of course, you've got Scald. Like Scald's just a busted move. It's one of the few mons that gets it, and it's arguably the best abuser of it. Life Orb, Raging Bolt, kind of cool as well. Magma, Redirection, with the Flame Body is always really, really good. I am surprised to actually see them not opt for something like Terra Grass, but I'm sure there's a specific reason for Ghost, potentially just, Redirection or, obviously, Fake Out, not getting stopped. But Flare Blitz, Mach Punch, Taunt is actually like a really, really cool set of moves as well. Blitz obviously gives you just a lot of damage. Mach Punch is like fantastic for picking things up that are low. And Taunt's Taunt, it's really good into things like Amoonguss, so you can't complain. Actually, I wonder if that's actually the play. It's because you got like Terra Ghost, and if they lead something like, Instant Amoonguss, you just go like Terra Ghost Spore, and then you just like don't care. But then you're also like taking way too much damage to knock off, so I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. And then Terra Stella Dark Urshi as well. I feel like it's one of those crazy things. I don't think we saw a single Dark Urshi before, similar to Lando, and then it just wins this event. Same with Suicune. Like these three didn't like they combined for 1 placement in the top 32 of the other tour, and this one they just win it. But yeah, look, we could honestly go through all the teams here. We see Lati, Landorus-I again. I'm not gonna go through all the teams, otherwise we'll be here all day. But we'll just have a look at some of the top usage, right? We'll go in particular. We want we'll go 2 single elimination bracket. I just want I'm assuming this is the let's just do the whole thing, because I don't know what they did with Top Cut here. But again, we see Incin on 44 teams, it's 53% usage. The mon is good. Win rate was actually pretty low in this event. But obviously, you look at Fluttermane, who has apparently beaten it in terms of, win rate. But Urshifu, once again, it's leading the charge out of the big boys. Ogerporn's still, a good mon. We see a lot more Raging Bolt in this event, and it did pretty average. Landorus-I was actually pretty solid. Amoonguss is good. Yeah, I mean, is there anything like super crazy? Not really. Walking Wake seems to have a lot more play in this event than the last one. I'm still Not 100% sure on this walking wake mon, if I'm being honest. I think walking wake might have to wait for the restricted formats to truly see how good it's going to be when there's a lot of weather running around. So definitely keep that in mind there. But yeah, we see some hat, hat trick room's always cool, of course. Suicune only getting 4 placements, but it did win the event, so that's cool as well. My guy, when you saw, would have liked to have seen it do a bit better. Latias, 3 placements, once again, 67% usage. I think Latias might be the source. I think that's getting thrown in the builder this weekend, definitely for sure. But yeah, look, guys, anyway, I'm going to end it there. I don't want to ramble on too much. I'm sure there are other people who've already covered this tournament enough. But as I said, I've just been busy. I basically bulk recorded everything for the past week. So yeah, that's why I sound a lot worse today than I did yesterday. Yeah, anyway, guys, that'll be it for this one. I'll catch you to the next one. Peace.